Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the sources, looking for those crucial insights, the surprising facts you need.
Right.
Today, we're heading into some pretty chilling territory. We're looking at an episode from Where the Guilty Whisper, a true crime podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This one's called The Bloodthirsty Serial Killer's Reign of Terror.
A heavy title.
It is. And our mission here is really to unpack the impact, the challenges posed by this killer who basically turned a quiet American town upside down with fear. We want to look beyond just the headlines.
Yeah, and this deep dive, it really sets itself up as an examination of how just one person, through these calculated acts, can cast such a huge shadow, a really long shadow over a whole community.
Right.
We'll be exploring that dance between the police trying to solve something that seems impossible, and a killer who wasn't just smart, but incredibly meticulous.
Meticulous is the word.
And the source material, it brings out these unexpected psychological bits about this monster, showing how he actually managed to operate right under everyone's noses for so long.
Exactly, because the sources make it clear this wasn't just any killer. This was someone who they described it as having this almost primal craving for blood.
Chilling.
And wanting his victims to suffer. And he chose ordinary people, someone walking home late, working late, just, wrong place, wrong time.
The randomness adds another layer of terror.
It really does. So this isn't just a grim story we're recounting. It's a deep, pretty unsettling look into the darker corners of human behavior, how that darkness gets unleashed.
And how people perceive it, how they react.
Yeah. So what specific insights can we pull from this case? Let's get into it.
Okay.
So our journey here starts in a place that really should have been safe. A quiet American town.
The classic setting.
Exactly. The kind of place where, as the source puts it, nothing truly terrifying was supposed to happen. But, that feeling of safety, it was just shattered when the first bodies started showing up.
And what jumped out right away for investigators, right from the start, was this horrific and consistent signature mark.
Ah, the signature. Tell us about that.
We're talking deep slashes, carved with precision. Now, at first detectives thought maybe random gang violence. It happened.
Standard procedure, maybe.
Yeah. But as more victims were found, the pattern was just undeniable. It shifted into something much, much more sinister. These weren't messy, chaotic acts. They were carefully done. Ritualistic, almost artistic, is how the source describes it.
Artistic. Wow.
And that precision, that sort of deliberate artistry in the violence, it just cranked up the horror. It signaled a killer with this chilling level of control of intent, not some spur-of-the-moment thing.
That detail, the artistic signature, that must have just sent absolute chills down everyone's spine. And naturally, the media jumped on it. They quickly recognized the terror and, they gave him the name, the Bloodthirsty Killer.
A name that sticks.
Oh, definitely. And the sources are clear. That name alone didn't just label him. It instantly amplified the fear. It created this ripple effect of panic right across the community.
Mm-hmm.
And the city's response, it was primal, instinctive fear. People locking doors, buying security systems, parents suddenly refusing to let kids walk home alone.
Understandable.
Yeah, when you think about the day-to-day life of a town, you can almost feel how that fear just soaked into everything. Every street, every house. It changed their whole sense of security.
And that psychological impact, specifically from that ritualistic signature, is really key here. It wasn't just the loss of life, which was horrific enough.
Right.
It was how they were taken.
Yeah.
The sources talk about how the ritualistic nature, especially those artistic slashes, didn't just cause fear. It fundamentally warped the town's collective memory.
How so?
It embedded this sense of, desecration. It made the usual healing processes, like grieving together as a community, uniquely difficult. It wasn't just loss, it felt like a profound violation of their story. Their narrative is a peaceful place. It twisted that quiet setting into this landscape of just constant dread.
So with that kind of fear gripping everyone, the big question for the police was obviously, how do we stop this guy?
Of course.
But the sources show the investigation hit a wall pretty fast. Huge frustration. It was almost like the killer knew exactly how to stay hidden.
He seemed one step ahead.
Yeah, the sources describe him as incredibly careful.
Yeah.
He left no fingerprints, no DNA, nothing to tie him to the scenes. It was like he knew the rules of the game,
Yeah.
cleaning up meticulously. It made him unbelievably elusive, almost like he was mocking them.
Well, that meticulousness is not just a detail, is it? It highlights a key part of his cunning. He wasn't just violent, he was smart.
Strategic.
But,
yeah.
Even the most careful predators slip up eventually.
Always seems to happen.
And the first big break here came from a really grainy surveillance camera outside a liquor store.
Okay.
The footage itself was chilling. You see this shadowy figure following a young woman. Hours later, her body was found.
God, that's grim.
But what really got the investigators, according to the source, wasn't just seeing the figure. It was his walk. Slow, deliberate, predatory.
His walk.
Yeah, a movement that just oozed menace. It gave them a critical insight, terrifying as it was, into his presence, his confidence.
Wow, just that one detail, that slow walk, must have been haunting, but it gave them something, a piece of the puzzle.
Exactly.
And from there, investigators could start mapping his behavior, right? Trying to understand his patterns. They soon figured out that all the crime scenes were clustered. They were all within, no more than 2 miles apart.
That's close, very close.
Yeah, so this wasn't random, sprawling violence. This was clearly his territory. He was operating in this very specific controlled zone, which is, chilling in itself.
And the source material really emphasizes the implication there. By operating in such a defined area, it felt like he was almost taunting them.
Taunting them? How so?
Well, it wasn't just convenience, it felt like an act of audacity, a challenge, almost daring the police to catch him right there in his own hunting ground.
That suggests a certain personality type.
Definitely. It reveals a killer with this deep-seated need for control, maybe even a kind of narcissistic pleasure in knowing he could evade capture while operating so close to, wherever he felt comfortable. Home, maybe?
Right.
From the source's perspective, it says a lot about his mindset. Suggests a mix of arrogance and this chilling confidence in his own abilities.
That combination, the meticulousness and then this brazenness, it's really baffling.
Yeah.
Did the sources suggest if that was like a deliberate game, a psychological thing?
Yeah.
Or just him getting overconfident?
That's a really good question. And the sources lean towards it being calculated. They describe his territory not just as convenient, but as a deliberate psychological move, almost daring them. But it seems even the smartest ones, they can succumb to their own ego, right? Eventually. This case really shows that even for the most careful, even the smartest predators make mistakes.
So the downfall.
Yeah. And this killer's critical mistake happened on a rainy night. Just a seemingly ordinary evening that ended up unraveling everything.
It's often something small, isn't it? Some desperate act that breaks a case. What was the pivotal mistake here?
Well, a key thing the source highlights is how a victim's courage, even right at the end, can be the thread that unravels a monster.
Okay.
In this case, the killer messed up when he chose a victim who fought back, a young college student, and she scratched his face before he silenced her.
She fought back.
Exactly. That single act, that desperate struggle, left the crucial piece of evidence, DNA, under her nails.
Wow. Against all odds.
Absolutely. It was like a microscopic needle in a haystack, especially given how meticulous he was everywhere else.
Yeah.
The source's stress, it was this combination, the victim's incredible bravery and cutting-edge forensics for the time that made this tiny trace yield a match. It just shows how critical every single detail can be.
And when those lab results came back, the city finally had a name.
The unmasking.
Yeah, the identity of the bloodthirsty killer was revealed, and it was just completely shocking.
Who was it?
He was a man who, by all accounts, just blended into society, a grocery store worker.
A grocery store worker.
Yeah. Described by neighbors as polite, quiet, the kind of neighbor you never suspect. It really makes you pause, doesn't it? Makes you look at people differently.
It really does.
The source description of just how close that evil was, hiding in plain sight, that might be the most unnerving part of it all.
Absolutely. And the sources really dig into how that revelation, the polite grocery store worker, didn't just shock people. It caused this profound crisis of trust in the town.
I can imagine.
It wasn't just fear anymore. It was this corrosive paranoia. Every neighbor suddenly felt like a potential suspect. It fundamentally changed the social fabric in a way that, a crime by an obvious outsider just wouldn't.
That makes sense.
This case is such a vivid example of the banality of evil. It shows how the total lack of red flags in someone so outwardly normal didn't just shock society, but also led to this intense self-blame in the community. That feeling of, how did we not see it?
Right, the guilt.
Yeah, far more than you'd get with someone who looked or acted disturbed from the start. It just hammers home the terrifying reality that appearances can be so deceptive, that the darkest impulses can live inside the most seemingly normal people. It leaves this scar of suspicion.
And once he was arrested, his demeanor, it just stayed chilling.
How so?
Our source describes how he didn't cry, he didn't beg, he didn't even deny it, he just smiled.
Smiled. Oh my gosh.
Imagine that. A smile. And in court during the trial, while all this horrific evidence is being presented, survivors' family said he just stared at them with cold, empty eyes. That unwavering, emotionless stare. It just speaks volumes, doesn't it? A complete lack of remorse. A terrifying void where you'd expect some humanity.
And the judicial outcome, was it straightforward?
Thankfully, yes. It brought some measure of justice, though obviously it couldn't undo the suffering. The evidence was overwhelming. As the source says, the jury had no doubts.
So convicted.
Unequivocally, sentenced to life in prison without parole, making sure he couldn't harm anyone ever again.
Right.
And while that legal conclusion brought a type of closure for the known victims' families, it couldn't really erase the terror he caused or answer every single question.
Which leads us to the lingering doubts.
Exactly. And that's one of the most unsettling parts that still haunts investigators and the community even today.
What's that?
Even with him locked away for life, officers believe there may be more victims out there.
Oh no.
Yeah. Unclaimed, unfound. It's this lingering shadow, this terrifying what if. It suggests the full scale of his terror might actually never be truly known. What kind of impact does that specific uncertainty have?
That's such a crucial point, because that unresolved piece, it leaves this incredibly difficult legacy for the families of the victims we know about, and maybe even more for the community itself.
How does it manifest?
Well, not being certain about other potential victims means real closure just stays out of reach for so many. The sources talk about how this doubt, this possibility of more unknown victims, creates this constant low-level anxiety that he got away with more. It just adds to the trauma.
Right.
It also directly affects cold case units. They often keep files open indefinitely, pouring resources into finding these unclaimed victims. And it can even influence public policy communities, might bring in new safety measures or fund victim support groups, specifically because of the long-term psychological fallout of this kind of profound but possibly incomplete resolution.
Yeah.
Sometimes that unknown element can be just as unsettling, maybe even more so than the known facts. It just creates this wound for the town that never quite heals.
And what a journey this deep dive has been. From that initial, just pervasive fear that gripped a quiet town, to the meticulous, shadowy investigation, then the shocking reveal of who he was so unassuming, and finally, these lingering, unsettling questions that are still there.
It's intense stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
But the insights from the source material, they feel incredibly important for understanding, well, human psychology, but also how a community can be resilient.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Our source material gives us such profound insights into human nature. Both that chilling capacity for extreme cruelty hidden behind normal face,
Yeah.
and the complex strength of a community fighting for justice, grappling with just immense loss. It really highlights the unsettling reality of hidden evil. Understanding these cases, it forces us to face some pretty uncomfortable truth about our world and the people in it.
Definitely.
The specifics here, his meticulousness, his ordinary appearance, they really challenge our gut feelings about what menace looks like.
Absolutely. So as you think back on this deep dive, maybe consider this.
Yeah.
The details of this case really drive home that chilling idea that sometimes the real monsters, they aren't hiding in the shadows. They're the ones already among us, just blending seamlessly into everyday life. And that question, brought so vividly to life by this deep dive, maybe it encourages some further thought on vigilance, on human psychology, and just the unseen parts of our world long after we finish talking.